Welcome back to another episode of the Legacy Shift podcast. All right, mamas, have you ever promised yourself that you'd stay calm in the morning and then you're just met with utter chaos by 7:15? You're already yelling, overstimulated. Maybe you're already running on completely empty or on adrenaline. Maybe your kids can't find their shoes or someone doesn't like the breakfast you made. Maybe the baby's crying. Maybe all of the above. And you haven't even had your morning water yet to keep yourself hydrated. And suddenly you're finding yourself that you're snapping in a way that you swore you wouldn't snap. If this is you, or if this describes you in some capacity, this episode is going to explain why those mornings feel so triggering to moms and what we can actually do about it instead of feeling overstimulated and yelling and snapping. Just to preface, this isn't about becoming a perfect mom. There is no such thing as a perfect mother. This is about understanding our nervous system in these moments so that we can stop living in that survival mode every single morning. Let's dive into this week's episode. I think one of the most healing things that a mother can understand is and realize is that you're not crazy for struggling in the mornings. They're one of the most highest stimulation parts of the day because we literally wake up and have things coming at us from the moment we open our eyes in the morning. And unless it's intentionally built in where there's that quiet time where you're able to regulate yourself, then that's just going to keep coming at you and feel overstimulated. Mornings, like I said, are one of the highest stimulation parts of the day. And if we can manage, that's when our nervous system can be regulated. I'd love to know if you're listening to this or watching this episode, what really triggers you the most in the mornings? Is it rushing around trying to get the kids out the door? Is it the constant interruptions as you're trying to get lunches and breakfast made or the kids dressed and ready for the day? Is it kids not listening or them waking up and talking a mile a minute? Maybe there's so much noise in your house. Maybe you're already running behind at 7:15 in the morning. I'd love to hear what really triggers you the most because I guarantee you, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, it will help other moms realize that they're not alone as well. And let's create that community together of that morning understanding, right? It's not easy for everyone, and there's going to be chaos in the morning, and that's okay. This is just opening up the conversation for mothers to start having that conversation together of why it's happening and understanding the why behind it's happening and how to regulate ourselves instead. So to understand really what's happening in these morning times, we first need to break down the nervous system in simple, relatable understanding. So often as a mother, and I find for myself as well, you wake up already mentally overloaded. I wake up in the morning and I'm already thinking of, okay, the baby's talking in the crib. I have to go get him out and get him dressed. This one needs to find his clothes for the school day. That one needs to maybe brush his hair. I'm already having immediate thoughts waking up, right? Cortisol is also naturally the highest in the morning for everybody. Decision fatigue starts to really settle in almost immediately because those decisions are coming in so fast that we have to make upon waking up and opening up our eyeballs. Noise and urgency often happen in the morning as well. I don't know about you, but my kids, they wake up and they're ready to go. There's no in between. It's not like they have a slow wake up time where they're groggy. They wake up and they're already talking to me and they're already telling me whatever they need to tell me. And I love it, but that can really kind of impact the nervous system because you're multitasking with that nervous system response. And then the kids also in the mornings, they tend to borrow our regulation. So they're trying to get regulated for the day as well, knowing all of these things for themselves. And they tend to come to us as mothers to help regulate themselves. So all of these things that were going on in the span of maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes upon waking up impact our nervous system, which then relates to why you're yelling or overstimulated by 7:15 in the morning. So let's just paint a picture, okay? So say you're making lunches and then you're answering questions about maybe a form that you have to fill out, or maybe they have a question about something they're learning, or maybe they want to tell you a story. And at the same time, you have someone else looking for socks or needing help with you finding socks. And You're also watching the clock because you know that you have to be out the door in 20 minutes. So all of these are happening at the same time. Your nervous system interprets this pressure as threat. So the nervous system doesn't find safety in the constant pressure of understanding what's going on in the morning. If you ever feel guilty about yelling before 8 a.m., honestly, you're not alone. And let's just break it down a little bit because I'll tell you a little bit of a story about what happened this morning. So my son had put a protein shake in I want to say it was the freezer because it was frozen solid, but he put it in a ceramic mug, okay? And he pulled it out this morning and it was obviously frozen. So I said, "Hey bud, maybe we should put this in the microwave just to soften it a little bit." So he started putting it in the microwave, but it came out and it was still frozen. So we started trying to get a fork in there and hammer it. And then the mug broke in half. Now, I'm not one to react about a mug. I didn't care about the mug. It was a very old mug. And I had just said, maybe we have to get rid of this because I'm afraid of the glass compartment. It was a clean break, but I was concerned that there was like shards of glass in the protein shake. And he started getting very upset about that. And he knocked down a chair and then he started going to the living room and he picked up a toy and he was going to throw it. And I just said very sternly and maybe with a little bit of urgency that, hey, this is not how we're behaving right now. This is not acceptable behavior for first thing in the morning. And he took that as, "Mommy, you're yelling at me. You're yelling at me and I don't like it," and all these things, right? So my nervous system then was like, this is pressure, right? And I'm interpreting this as threat. I was being a little bit more stern and urgent. I wouldn't say I was yelling, but he interpreted that as yelling. So we need to understand that this is constant in our house. And I have 4 children. That's just one of them. That's just one scenario. Yesterday, there was another scenario I could talk to you about. Every morning, there's something that goes on that there is a child that's dysregulated or something happens, and you got to manage that along with everything else. Yelling is often not a parenting strategy problem, though. It's often the nervous system overload problem. So, for instance, this morning, yes, my nervous system felt a little heightened, but at the same time, I was finishing making waffles for the kids for breakfast, and I was thinking about what to pack them for lunch today. I also had to sign their agendas and make sure that their backpacks are packed. And one of my kids was looking for socks at the same time, and one of my kids was still sleeping, so I had to make sure he was getting up on time for school. So all of these things, they can activate fight or flight activation in our nervous system, and our logical thinking goes offline, right? We lose access to that logical thinking. This is why sometimes as moms, we react way bigger in the moment than's actually necessary because stress accumulates as well. So yes, we could have a stressful morning, but also if you had a stressful week, that often accumulates, right? If you've had a lot of things going on at work or a lot of deadlines to meet or a lot of other extracurriculars and all these things maybe you're doing bedtime solo, maybe it's all the things added up. And then just one morning, it's like you're yelling. And that's the accumulation of stress. And obviously it creates more of a flight or fright activation. And that logical thinking completely goes offline. Now, I just want to say this does not excuse harmful behavior, but what it does help us is to understand that the root allows us to actually change it. So when we understand the root cause, we can actually change the neural pathways in our brain to become more regulated instead of reactive in these moments. Let me share with you another story. So yesterday, for example, it's still pretty chilly in the mornings where I am. And my kids have decided to take it upon themselves to start wearing shorts and t-shirts, regardless of what the weather is outside. And it was still pretty chilly. And I had just advised my 6-year-old, I said, "Hey, bud," he didn't want to wear a sweater or a coat. I said, "It's cold. You should put a sweater on." So he put a sweater on, but he really didn't like the feel of it once we got into the car and all the things. And then he was getting really upset about it. And he started not wanting to take the sweater into school because then his teachers were going to make him wear it at recess and all of the things, right? And I could feel myself getting so dysregulated because I was giving him option after option. He just was shooting them down saying, "No, I don't want that." And this was on top of already getting all 4 kids into the car to get ready for school and all packing the lunches and making the breakfast and all the things that had already happened in the morning. So this is just like the icing on the cake. And we were driving and I could feel myself, like I said, becoming really dysregulated. And I knew in that moment that I needed to shift. I needed to shift my perspective and come from more of a regulated place. Because at the end of the day, does it matter if he's wearing a sweater? He's going to learn his lesson. He's old enough to know if he's chilly or not. And we had compromised at the end of the day that he would just put it in his backpack and that would be that. And if he got cold, he could put it on. If he wasn't cold, okay, fine. He can make that decision. But it was coming from a regulated place to have that conversation with him instead of dysregulation. And that allowed me to not feel like I had to be in control, but really come from a place of understanding what was needed in that situation. So that's what shifted when I focused on regulation instead of control. Everything just calmed down for both me and for him. And we were able to have a great morning send off. And he went off to school and it was great. And then I came home and it felt regulated as well. So I stopped asking, really honestly, I stopped asking, why don't my kids cooperate? And I started asking, what state is in my body right now? And when I was tapping into the state of my body as I was driving and my son was full blown out tantrum in the car about his sweater, I had realized I was increasing my nervous system. I was feeling tight in my chest and I was feeling a lot of emotions. And when I realized that my state was not where I wanted to be and I can change my state, my kids then understood the cooperation part, right? So it's all a cycle. I think something that is highly unspoken about, but maybe we should speak about more as mothers, is the full mom experience. We see a lot online about how amazing everything is as parents, and we can compare ourselves to these social media influencers or whatever that are showing us maybe 0.01% of their life or trying to curate a perfect life, right? But in reality, what's happening is that as moms, the whole mom experience is that we have these small stressors that build on each other and they keep building and building, and then the nervous system explodes. I have a list here of small stressors that maybe aren't conscious to us that I would like to share. But these stressors honestly all amount up to an elevated nervous system. So, lack of sleep. I don't know about you, but I've had kids now for 10 years. I'm pretty sure I've been in sleep debt for 10 years, right? And with this new baby coming, I'm going to be even in more sleep debt. And okay, so lack of sleep, right? Hunger. I'm always the last person to eat, right? Often my kids take half my meal. So hunger, sensory overload. There's lots going on all the time. The fan on the microwave is a big trigger of mine, right? So loud. Mess. This one isn't really a big trigger for me, but it is for some people. Time pressure. You have to be somewhere at a certain time. Maybe there's emotional labor. You have to help support everyone's emotions, right? Maybe there's some partner stress. Maybe you had an argument with your partner. Financial stress, that's a huge one. Maybe your kids are arguing. These are all examples of small stressors that can happen that then your nervous system begins to explode. But it's important to note here that no single moment breaks us. It's the accumulation of all of the moments together. So I'm really curious, like, how many invisible things are you as a mother carrying before the day even begins? I've shared so many things on this episode so far of before the day begins, what's actually being carried by me. And I would love to hear from the people watching, you guys watching this podcast, what invisible things are you carrying? Right? Okay. So we've spoken a lot about the nervous system so far and what really goes on in the nervous system and why we find that we're yelling sometimes before 7:15 in the morning. Okay. But right now, I would like to teach you some practical regulation that you can do to help regulate yourself in these mornings so that everybody, including yourself, are regulated and in control and calm moving through the day. Okay. So this is for real moms with real mornings. Let's walk through this exercise together. I want you to put your feet on the floor if you can. Okay. We're going to take a big deep breath in. We're going to relax our shoulders. And I want you to name 5 things that you see. So right now, I'm facing my kitchen. I can see a plant. I can see the kettle. I can see a coffee mug. I can see the stove, and I can see a set of scissors. Okay. I can see those things. And then you're going to slowly exhale longer than you inhaled. The reason why this exercise works is because you're signaling safety back to your nervous system and you're coming back to what's in the room. A key distinction and understanding that I really want to stress here is that regulation is not about becoming quote unquote Zen. It's about creating enough space so that you can choose to respond differently. So doing that quick, maybe it takes 15 seconds, that exercise allows you to choose a different state so that you can respond differently every single morning. So that is one thing that you can do whenever you're feeling that extra intense morning. Or you can put it as a daily activation in the morning, right? Before you start the day, do this quick thing as you're getting up in the morning and regulate yourself. So another practical tool that we can do, this is the breath and sensory regulation. So we're going to teach our breath reset. So you're going to inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. And this tells the body that the threat has passed. So this is something you can do if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, everything's just coming at me. We have 5 minutes left to go and the socks are not done here and the kid's not dressed yet and this one's on the toilet pooping and all these things, right? Inhale 4, exhale 6. And now we're feeling safe again in our nervous system. At the same time, as we're doing the breath reset, we can look at our environment in the morning and kind of reduce sensory things. So let's try to turn the volume down on the house a little bit. Maybe we can play some calm music, dim the lighting so maybe it's not so bright, turn off the microwave, fan, prepare ahead of time if you're able to so that you have fewer decisions to make in the morning. And then really simplify those breakfast and clothing choices. So if your children are old enough, they can get dressed on their own, have them set out their clothes the night before, and have them be dressed by the time they come for breakfast. If they're young, get them dressed and then come down. So we often try to emotionally regulate ourselves inside the environments of chaos where we're feeling so physiologically overstimulated. What we can do is outside of those moments, take those breaths and prepare ourselves for the morning. Okay, I've got one more tool that I want to share. This one's really fun. I did this on my Instagram and things like that, and it was really well received. So EFT tapping for overwhelm. Okay. You don't need to fully understand, just to preface this, you don't need to fully understand the nervous system science for this to help. So I'm going to go through it with you. You can do this in the bathroom before you start the day. You can do this maybe in the kitchen while your kids are putting their shoes on. It takes less than 30 seconds because we're busy moms. And this really is going to help you and your nervous system feel safe. So let's get started with our EFT tapping for the morning for overwhelm. Even though I feel overwhelmed and overstimulated this morning, I am safe. I feel so overwhelmed. There is so much going on. I know I am safe. I know my body is safe. I know I can find calm. I am calm. Everything will happen as it should. Take a big deep breath in, deep breath out. And how does that feel? Let me know in the comments because I want to see and hear from you how that feels. This is a great way to relax your nervous system, come back to the now, and just have a tool in your tool belt. Now, the things that I've said in that, you can change them up however you feel. You don't have to say word for word what I said with whatever is coming up for you in that moment. Whatever you feel, you can change those words as you feel. Okay? So how do we really create a slow start in a fast morning? You may not be able to control the chaos of the mornings, but you can change the pace of your nervous system as your nervous system experiences it. So here's some tips that have helped me. You can take them on or not. Again, whatever feels aligned for you. But these have helped me regulate my nervous system in the morning so that I can be more regulated parent. And in turn, my kids can be more regulated. Okay. So waking up 10 minutes earlier for nervous system care. As I wake up, I do a little bit of a stretch in the morning. I put my feet on the ground, put my hands on my thighs, and I feel myself getting grounded into the day. I take a big deep breath in, big deep breath out. I get up. I go to the washroom. I do all the things I need to do. And if I'm able, so that means if I'm not being called on right away, I'll do a little bit of a stretch routine just to get into my body. This helps for my nervous system to feel regulated. Okay. The other thing is no phone scrolling in the morning. I know it's so hard not to grab that phone and start getting that quick dopamine fix in the morning. No phone scrolling in the morning. Okay. Number 3 is hydration. As soon as you're able, get a good amount of water in. Hydrate yourself. Maybe if you're able to as well, put some music on before you have demands. I don't do this one. This is just a recommendation if that feels aligned to you. And then one calming anchor habit if you have one. So mine is the stretching. I like to do that every morning. If the kids are up, they're welcome to join me. I don't feel like I have to do it before the kids are awake, but it's something that allows me to ground myself into the day, and they're welcome to join as well. So children, they don't need perfect mornings. What they need in those moments are regulated leadership. And that's what we're doing by using some of these tools and anchoring our morning. Calm doesn't mean that it's completely silent and that no one's talking, though. It means that you're connected and that everything is connected. And that's key here. If your mornings are hard for you, it does not mean that you're failing at motherhood at all. Please understand that. Likely means that your nervous system has been carrying too much for too long. You're not broken because the morning overwhelms you. Ever. The fact that you want to do things differently already makes you a cycle breaker and a woman who is looking to heal for the better of her family. If this episode made you feel seen, please subscribe to the Legacy Shift podcast on YouTube or Spotify because every week we talk about the nervous system regulation, conscious parenting, and breaking generational cycles without shame. If you want support regulating in real time, I have a 90-second nervous system reset guide. I'll link it down below. It's designed specifically for those moments when you feel yourself about to snap. Remember, you don't need perfect mornings to raise emotionally safe children. You just need moments of awareness, repair, and regulation. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Legacy Shift podcast, and I will see you next week.